All right, everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Deep Tub podcast. For those of you who don't know, my name is Omer Labak, and yes, I am the creator of this show. I am super excited to be doing this. I've been watching podcasts probably for the last 6 years at least. Joe Rogan, all the comedians, love all of them. Um, I love sports, so I watch all like the sport talk shows, so they all kind of remind me of podcasts. So doing this kind of thing always really interested me. So again, my name's Omer Labak. I'm here in New York City. I am not originally from here, which is a question I get a ton because I do sometimes mention like, oh, like I just moved out here, what it's like to be here as someone who just moved. So let's start off with some questions from you guys because I do get a lot of them and I think it would be really cool to share on the podcast. But actually, before we get into all of that, I did mention that this show is called The Deep Tub. I honestly thought it was so fitting because it kind of became like my shtick where I would say because just to give you guys I know I'm like a little bit all over the place right now, but to give you guys a quick backstory of how my whole like social media journey kind of started. So shout out to this guy on TikTok. His name is New York City Rentals and Sales. He's very big. I think he has like over 600,000 followers. And I'm just like scrolling one day. This is coming up on a year ago now. And I just saw the videos he was posting where they were very interesting. They were very insightful and informative. But yeah, they're essentially just videos of him walking into the apartments. He's a realtor just like me, and he's in the city, and he's just doing like these quick walkthroughs, kind of very similar to what you guys see me post. And I see that, and I'm like, wait, this video has like a million views. And like I'm like looking through my phone, and I'm like, wait, I have all of these like same exact videos because I'm also a realtor, and it's also part of my job to like get videos of all the apartments because a lot of the times I have clients that hit me up and they're like, hey, like I'm in LA, for example. I won't be able to come tour, but I need an apartment for 2 weeks from now. Do you have any videos that I could see, maybe a virtual tour or anything like that? So it's really important for us to get videos of all the apartments that we view. So I'm like looking through my phone. I'm like, wait, I literally have the exact same videos that he's posting, except mine are unedited and there's no voiceover on them. So that's kind of how this all started. I was just like, okay, so the light bulb went off, and I was like, you know what? Let me start posting, and just see where it goes. Kind of come up with my own style of voiceover, but I knew I wasn't going to like reinvent the wheel, so my videos started off being heavily inspired by this guy's page, and so I give him all the credit in the world. And I thank him. Would love to one day meet this guy. I have no idea what he looks like because he does not show himself in any of the videos. But yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And thank God, I would say about a week after posting, I had my first video do pretty well. It got like a million views in like 3 days. And from that point on, like the light bulb just stayed on, and I just started posting every day from that point. And now we're here making podcasts, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, now where was I going with that? I have to get used to this long form stuff. So yeah, so why is the show called the Deep Tub Podcast? Now, again, going back to this guy's videos that I would watch, I would kind of try to pick up on things because, believe it or not, guys, I've only been a realtor for a year now, just over a year. And when I started posting, I would pick up on certain things that he would say in the videos. So I just thought, let's just say I thought certain things that he would point out, or I thought they were more important than they actually are. And I realized that in a lot of his videos, he would mention like the depth of the bathtubs in the videos, which I thought was interesting. I thought it was a little weird, but I was like, you know what? If he's saying it, then it must be something that people want to know. So I was like, you know what? I'll start mentioning it in my videos. So it kind of just became like this funny thing because I'm just like not really knowing what I'm doing. And I just, any tub I see, I'm like, oh, like this looks like a pretty deep tub. So let me just like put my hand in the thing and be like, this is a really deep tub. And a lot of you guys got a kick out of it. So if you read a lot of my comments, they all say like, oh, why is he saying that this tub is deep? It's just like a normal ass tub. Like, And I get it. I mean, I realized that it got like kind of a reaction from the audience, so I just kept going at it. It just kind of became my shtick. And someone actually DM'd me when I announced that I'm going to make a podcast, and he said that I should make one out of one of those so-called deep tubs. Now I forgot who sent that to me, but appreciate that, because that was another light bulb that went off, and I was like, you know what, like maybe I'll call this podcast The Deep Tub, because I think it kind of makes sense. It's fitting. It's already like part of my videos, and yeah, and I mean, honestly, I want to talk about a lot more things outside of just like real estate and business and like all that stuff, because as much as that is a big part of my life, and that's probably the biggest part of my life that you guys get to see, but I am a human being that has a lot of interests and hobbies, and I'm like a young guy with a lot of energy. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things I love to talk about. I mean, number one, outside of real estate, is definitely sports, basketball, UFC, even a little bit of football. I would love to do that, to do like a show, or not necessarily a whole show, but just like maybe segments here and there about the certain sports that I really like to watch, because I'm a sports super fan, let's just say. But yeah, even politics, certain issues. I don't really shy away from anything, and I'm not so worried about like the whole like political like right left. I really believe that you have to like kind of have you should have the conversation. Like I believe that with money and things like politics, like it should be discussed, because how else could anything get anywhere? Even though we're obviously in like pretty interesting times with all of that stuff. But yeah, but would make for great content. So definitely want to get into all of that, and that's why we're doing this longer form type of content, so you guys could kind of get like a better insight or a better like view into like what it is that I'm doing. So yeah, so I think that's enough of an introduction for this. So let's start with the first questions. I have my computer set up here. So, all right. So from Copywriting Milan on Instagram, thank you for sending the question. You said you recently moved to New York City. Where did you live before that? All right. So I'm originally from Miami, Florida. And for those of you who don't know, I am 23 years old. I just turned 23 a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I'm from Miami, Florida. So obviously like New York and Miami are pretty intertwined. And yeah, I just found myself here due to a few different factors and reasons that we'll definitely get into. But yeah, so where am I from? Miami, Florida. So let's move on to the next. All right, how quickly are rentals being snatched up right now? So I've been lucky enough to be working as a realtor now starting summer 2023, and I was also doing the entire summer of 2022. And so far, to be honest, what I'm feeling is that the summer 2022 was a lot crazier and a lot more fast-paced than 2023. Not to say that 2023 isn't crazy so far, because it is. But I would say, because everything is so expensive, anything below, let's say, the hundreds on the east or west side, that's under $5,000, whether it be a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, of course, or even a 1-bedroom, anything under $5,000, I'm seeing that it's renting very, very quickly. Unless something is like really absurdly priced, like $5,000 for like a 6th floor walk up in a dirty building, like things are really going quickly. But the problem is everything is so expensive now that all the apartments that used to be like $5,000-$6,000 a month are now like $7,000-$8,000 a month. So those are really sitting, even though people are coming with like higher budgets and things like that. But things are also sitting on the market. But it's interesting because I'm also realizing, or I'm also seeing that apartments are really not so available right now, meaning like the market is very tight. Inventory is very low, which is pretty interesting. I'm assuming that just means that people are renewing their leases and just staying, and not really, there isn't a huge turnover of apartments yet. I mean, maybe it could change. We're still very early. But yeah, so I guess it really depends on the budget. Of course, if you're looking for a more higher end, you could definitely find apartments. They exist. Lower end, not even lower end, but just like I would say $5,000 and below for rent. Those are renting pretty quickly, honestly. So yeah, now how hard is it to find a rent-controlled building? In terms of rent-controlled buildings, forgot what the percentage is for buildings in New York that are rent controlled. But I do know that there are a few apartments that I deal with that are rent controlled or rent stabilized, but it's not, it doesn't come around as often as people might think. So yeah, now let's move on. All right, congrats on your podcast. How did you get into real estate, and how many years have you been a real estate agent? So again, I've only been an agent for 1 year now, a little bit over a year. And now, how did I get into real estate? So this is the age-old question of how I got into real estate, because people, I guess, see that I'm like this young dude, just like running around New York, kind of doing this thing. So basically, my uncle has been in real estate in New York City for like 40 years now. Not necessarily as an agent. He's like a landlord in the city, so he has inventory in Manhattan. And I was in Florida. I was just doing my thing there, not doing real estate. I'm talking to you about, this was just about a little over a year and a half ago, so almost 2 years ago at this point. I was working in a warehouse, in a wholesale phone warehouse, cleaning phones, like filling orders. It was a great time. I mean, I loved working for the guys over there. I mean, honestly, like they treated me like family. Like it was a great experience. But obviously, I knew that that's not what I was gonna do forever, because I was just kind of at a point where, okay, like I've always wanted to get into real estate. Like I wasn't necessarily sure I wanted to be an agent, but I definitely kind of wanted to follow in my uncle's footsteps and maybe buy a few properties and kind of get the ball rolling that way. So I know for that you need to make money. You need to have some sort of money on the side. You need to have an income that you have to be able to show. So I was like, you know what, I'll get this job. And that actually wasn't the only job I was working. I was also delivering newspapers on Fridays to the Israeli supermarkets in Miami. So that was pretty cool. I did that for like 3 years. It was like once a week. I would drive around in my car and just literally be like a paper boy from like the 1920s, except I'm driving around in my Nissan Altima and blasting rap music. But yeah, so I mean, that was an interesting year. That was 2021, 2022. And I just kind of decided that I was going to take my real estate course with one of my best friends. So we did that. I took the course in person with, again, one of my best friends, and we did it 3 times a week. Each session was 4 hours. Finally got the license for Florida, and I guess my mom probably told my uncle, yeah, he's working on getting his real estate license. So I mean, I'm not so sure what happened there, but I just got a call randomly from him, and he's like, hey, like I heard you're getting your Florida license, and I was like, yeah, and he was like, you want to grab lunch? And I was like, sure. So basically, like, long story short, we grabbed lunch, and he asked me like, hey, what if I moved you to New York and you start doing real estate, and you can run around, you can make 80 grand in a year, or you can make nothing if you are lazy and don't do anything. And I was like, okay. I mean, I know that. I'm a person who has a pretty high work ethic, and I think I consider myself someone who enjoys working. And I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this could be a crazy once in a lifetime experience. I'll get to live in New York City, be an agent, like kind of move into the belly of the beast, and just start running around. It was honestly one of the craziest lunches I've ever had in my life. And I was like, of course, yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. Like, where can I sign the contract? So essentially for the next few months, I started working on the New York license simultaneously with the Florida license. So that was kind of not so fun, because as much as the courses are similar, they are still different enough to be able to confuse me, like when I'm studying for both exams. But yeah, so I want to say it was February of 2022, so very early into 2022. I finished the exam for New York, and I'm like, okay, like let me take the state exam. And there were no state exams in the city. The only state exam I was able to take that week was in Syracuse. So my dad flew with me. We went to Syracuse, took the exam. Thank God I passed it the first time, so I would not have had to fly back. That was a nightmare. But yeah, and now we're kind of here just doing social media and being a realtor, and it's honestly shaping up to be something that I never thought possible for myself, like in terms of what I'm kind of doing with social media, because I've been a huge fan of like different influencers and just social media and podcasts and like all these different things like for years, like literally like probably from middle school. Like I'm like wow, like it was always in the back of my mind, like I would love to do something like this, like post content, but I was like, like no one's gonna care about what I have to say. Like, no one's like, why would anyone listen to me? Like, I don't have anything to offer to people for in terms of like entertainment or anything or education or anything like that. I'm just like always like this really normal kid. Um, so I guess it ended up working out really well that I was like in the city, and thank God I saw that video on TikTok of NYC Rentals and Sales doing his thing. So that was cool. And yeah, and actually another question that I get very often is, did I go to college? Now, this is probably one of the more controversial things I've done in my life, especially if you were to ask my parents. So technically, yes, I did go to college. Did I finish? No, I did not finish college. So essentially, I graduated high school. I did very, very well in high school. And then, so I'm Jewish and I'm from Miami. So a very classic thing that Jewish kids from Miami and New York and LA do is they go to Israel for their first year of college. So it's essentially called a gap year, but you're still under this like umbrella of a program. So I still got credits, even though all I did was like fuck around for a year and not actually do any schoolwork, but they still gave us A's because it's all just like a big finesse. But yeah, so I did one of those programs. The best year of my life, like in terms of like fun and just like meeting people. Like my best friends to this day are from that program. So shout out to everyone from that program in 2018, 2019. So yeah, so that was essentially my first year of college, my freshman year. I had a full year of credits, and then I moved back to Miami, where I attended Florida International University, or FIU. Go Panthers. Just kidding, I don't really care, but yeah, so I went to FIU from 2019 to 2020, so just over a year actually. And what happened in 2020? The coronavirus hit, and that kind of turned the whole world upside down and on its head. So that definitely affected my whole college experience, because I honestly hated college as it was, and I was working like 2 other jobs, just kind of trying to figure out my shit and like what am I gonna do with the rest of my life, and what my plans are and this and that. And I'm just like in college for international business and working jobs, and I wasn't really in a place where I was kind of just like floating. Like I didn't feel like I was working towards a goal, but I was being responsible. I was making my parents happy, and I was in college. So that's pretty much what it was. I also was only 19. And then COVID hits March of 2020. So I'm literally still 19 years old at that point. And yeah, so COVID hits, and then the announcement comes out that all classes are moving remote. And I'm just like, okay. At first I was like pretty hyped. I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to come to campus anymore. Like, awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys know, I mean, I was in Florida, so the COVID restrictions weren't too crazy. But in the beginning, campus was closed. So everyone was doing their classes remotely, which was interesting. And this is where the fun begins for the story. So this is the first day of online class. I'm trying to remember what class it was. I think it was like some bullshit philosophy class, like some garbage. And I hop on the Zoom, and it's just like a bunch of black screens, like no one's showing themselves. The professor's just talking, like trying to get the class engaged. I honestly feel bad. No one really knows like what's going on, like why are we here, like why are we doing this? Like it's all kind of like crazy at that time. But I just realized, I'm like, okay, like the professor's just talking, and like everyone has their cameras off. Like it's all bullshit. Like I won't be able to like survive this. Like I couldn't do this. Like this is I can't put my mental like effort into like doing this kind of thing. And like I literally exited the Zoom, deleted Zoom off my computer, deleted Canvas, which is like the college like homework turn in, and just like everything is on Canvas. Like the entire database, everything, it's called Canvas. deleted it off my computer. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not doing this. I'm gonna try anything else. I'm gonna do anything else, literally anything, to try and figure out my life, because I was like, you know what? I saw this as like my opportunity to like escape college because I hated it. And maybe find something for myself, like to be able to like make money, because that was always my goal in life, and I'm not like, I don't tive that back at all. I definitely want to be very, very rich and successful in the future, in the near future, hopefully. That's definitely something I've always wanted to do. Of course, health first, family first. I'm not like one of those like, soulless people, but a huge goal in my life is to be financially free, and I want to do it doing something that I enjoy, not necessarily love. Like I don't really believe in the cliche that you have to like love what you do and all that. Like if something makes money and it makes sense for your life, I think you should pursue it. But I know that I don't want to be in like the structure of like a regular 9 to 5, just because I've worked many jobs, like probably a lot more jobs than you would think a 19-year-old at that time especially would ever work. And I just know my attention span and all of that. Like I just can't, I couldn't imagine doing a 9 to 5. And I know a lot of people do, and it's like, no offense or major respect to anyone who does it. Everyone's different. Like I'm just talking about myself now. I just know that I just can't sit 9 to 5 and do anything 9 to 5 for the next 50 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just, that was just not an option for me. So I was just trying to figure out anything else that I could do to avoid that. So I started off trading stocks, which like failed obviously, because like 9 out of 10 people fail in doing that, even though I had like a little bit of success. And just one thing led to another, one thing like just bouncing, like, you kind of just, life leads you certain places. And now I'm here with no college degree, kind of still in that zone of trying to figure out like what it is that I'm doing with myself. But thank God that real estate, I guess, found me here, and where I can make content, and it's something that I really enjoy doing, and like now hopefully this podcast like can do well, and you guys enjoy, because that'd be really cool. Because this was always like a dream for me, like to like do a podcast. Because again, guys, I literally grew up watching like Joe Rogan, the H3 podcast, like Two Bears One Cave, Dr. Drew After Dark. I can name you 100 different podcasts that I watch still to this day. But yeah, I mean, let's find another question. Clearly, this is my first ever podcast, so let's see if we could find another question. How's the market? I think we already spoke about that. Where did I live before? We already spoke about that. All right. Guys, today I had such a crazy day. Like, imagine going to view a building that has 8 vacancies, and 6 out of the 8 apartments look exactly the same, and it was just so awful. But yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much good with these questions. So yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna leave this up for you guys now. I'll end the episode here, and mainly because it is 7:08 p.m. and as I mentioned, I am from Miami, and I do love basketball, and the Miami Heat are in the finals, and I am supposed to be meeting some friends in Times Square to go watch the Heat, and please God, allow Miami to take game 2. That would literally make my day, like more than that, and hopefully win the series and become champions again. And thank God for Miami being in the finals. Wow. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this open up to you guys. If there's anything you want to see specifically me talk about on the show, definitely let me know, and I'll be listening to all the feedback. Definitely find me on Instagram at Realtor Omer. It's RealtorOmer. I'll put it in my description. TikTok, Omer Labak, just my name, straight up like that. And this will be going on my YouTube as well as my Instagram and TikTok as clips. That was my email going off. Sorry about that. So yeah, this was really fun, and peace, guys.